There we go then. Welcome back to the locker room for your second helping of the Champions League. I think the first show is better than the second show, but anyway, that's a personal statement of me. In case you have been out, don't know, buying fireworks or whatever. There were certainly fireworks in Dortmund tonight, actually. It finished Borussia Dortmund 7, Celtic 1. And for all that build up we gave to Celtic on the show, Reagan, I wouldn't advise people to watch that now. Brilliant show, a lot of people watching it, but just a disaster. Joined by Graham and Reagan to pick the meat and the bones or whatever out of that one. If you know what I mean. Get your comments coming in. Keep them positive and all that kind of stuff. On Facebook, I'm not holding much hope out. On Facebook and Twitter. Gregor says what a hammering. Yes, I think Celtic got what maybe St Johnson got on Saturday night, a real tanking. But anyway, Reagan, what's your thoughts on the game?
My thoughts is it's the same old story for Celtic in Europe, Michael. I'm just about fed up with people coming out and saying, "Oh, we've got a great opportunity." I mean, we said openly on this show before the game that that Ida should have started. I mean, Kyogo was virtually anonymous the full game. Um, to be honest, Michael, I don't know what happened to McGregor either. Sometimes I begin to think that these European games could have passed McGregor by. I don't know if it's just he's not up to the level, and sometimes we see him in Scottish football strolling about and going, well, maybe like he's too good for that level, but maybe he's not up to European level. But yeah, I just don't know, Michael. I just feel like we were too easy to play against in midfield, and then I mean it's just the whole team just looks shell shocked. I mean, I really don't know why I celebrated that goal at one each because it just was pointless, you know. Because after 5 minutes it was 4-1. I think you know what I don't know how Brendan Rodgers is going to talk to the players because everybody just seems shell shocked because like everybody in the media, like, I mean, us guys talking before the game, us speaking in group chats, or whatever, everybody was confident that Celtic could go there, and I'm not saying they could beat Dortmund, but they could be competitive. But
Hmm.
they were anything but competitive.
Graham, let's speak about before the game started because I think that was the best bit from a Scottish point of view. It was a brilliant atmosphere, two fans singing the famous anthem and Graham's. I'm surprised I never heard you from my house, Graham, singing that walk on song. Yeah, I mean, it's a different season, different team, but that same old performance when Celtic goes away from home.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Celtics for the season, they've been very good in the Premier League. And obviously against Bratislava, they were fantastic. But then Man City have hammered Bratislava tonight. But away from home, Celtic just have this horrendous record. And it's not the first time that a Brendan Rodgers side has got hammered away from home in Europe. They got battered by
Barcelona.
Barcelona, got
Yeah.
hammered by PSG. You would think they would learn lessons after that. And they've still not. You know, when you're going, for example, 3-1, 4-1 down, just shut up shop. They were still trying to go forward. Just shut up shop. The game's done. And you just keep on conceding, and the goals they were losing were so poor. I mean, I said it in the live chat when you were on before the show. I said Adeyemi is a player you've got to watch. He gets a hat trick, and he goes off in the second half. I think Celtic fans probably thinking, "Thank God he's off," but it didn't really matter. You know, you always wonder, like at 5-1, how are Dortmund going to treat the second half? And it did feel for about 20 minutes or so that it was going to be a case of, right, they're happy to sit back, but then you just kept going forward and adding more goals. Celtic are just so away from home in Europe, they've got to be a lot more streetwise than that. You cannot keep going to these places and getting absolutely hammered. Dortmund are a class apart, and they showed that tonight. I thought Julian Brandt was outstanding tonight. But you've got to be more streetwise, and you've got to get in there and actually say, you know what, we're just going to hold what we've got here. The game's done. Stop trying to go forward because the game's done. And they just kept getting opened up time and time and time again. And I don't know why Brendan Rodgers is not learning lessons from that. Now, I know that he said he was going to go and have a go, and he said about, the Celtic fans going there, this is like a dream. Well, it's turned into a nightmare because that was absolutely brutal from Celtic. But Dortmund were absolutely fantastic tonight.
Regan, I wanted to ask you a question. Obviously, we will cover maybe not parts of the game for you. Maybe we'll just end the show there for you tonight. But in the second half, the Neil Lennon was co-coms tonight with our pal and Graham's mate before he said that, Brother Hamilton. And they were saying about Celtic teams of maybe like 5 or 6 years ago failing away from home. I think it's a mentality thing with maybe say it about Hearts or Rangers and first tonight, but obviously we're talking about Celtic. But is that a mentality thing by Celtic? It doesn't matter who's playing for Celtic because it's the same outcome.
I think it's a mentality thing with Scottish teams. I think we've got an inferior complex when it comes to big matches and big occasions. And I know people will slag Steve Clarke and stuff, but he's turned it around with Scotland. We've beat Spain, we've beat Norway, but when's the last time that Celtic, Rangers, Hearts produced a big away performance? Okay, Rangers did it against Dortmund during COVID, but when's the last time we could say that any big team went away and put in a great performance? It's been a long time. And Michael, I thought Graham said the show was going to finish after 7 minutes because that would be a bit better. But no,
I
I
could
think
go one more minute because I could go one more minute just because Celtic scored. So minute left.
that's fine. No, but yeah, I think in terms of like the overall picture, I mean, Celtic, they weren't expected to beat Dortmund, Michael, but like I said, they should probably be a bit more trying to be a bit
Streetwise.
more streetwise in what they're doing. But I want to ask you guys, do you think now then Scottish teams in particular will all trying to like of course they can try and play football, but we also need to be organised. And that's one of the big reasons why Rangers did so well in Europe under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and under Walter Smith when they got there in 2008 because Rangers weren't the best team to watch, but what they were was they were sitting behind the ball for 90 minutes, and then when they got a chance to attack, they attacked well. That's what these clubs need to do. We need, like, it's okay, Celtic going, oh, well we beat St Johnstone 6-0, so we can go and try and attack Dortmund. It's like a guy that can't try to drive a motorbike, he's not able to do it. So don't try and do it. You know what I mean? And it's like, when are we going to learn? I mean, I heard Neil Lennon on commentary going, "Oh, but it's all about learning." But Neil Lennon said that when he was Celtic manager. You know what I mean? So when's Brendan Rodgers going to learn?
I was well, obviously we will maybe talk about the game maybe on Sunday night when we're on or whatever. But a couple of comments in the chat I want to run up. Like Liverpool, I take it. I'm gonna be boring and say my usual joke. I take it you're a Liverpool fan. And you are because you told me the other day. That's the difference between Scottish League and other leagues. And also he said it's a financial gap. Now, I'm not being smart here and saying this, guys, but we know that there's a financial gap. But what we're asking for is for us to, whether it's Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, or Hibs, or whoever is in Europe, is to compete. We're not saying we're going to win every game, Graham, because that's not possible to do because we know that there's a bit of a gap there. But all we're saying is put up a decent performance. I mean, I asked you, Reagan, on the pre-show that if Celtic got beat 2-1, would you be happy?
Well, you'd be happy now because it was 7-1, but you would be happy because they've put up a fight, they've done well, they've created chances. But I've got a question for you guys then. What do you think the big difference is in Europe? I just feel like they were see like their team, their squad just looked physically stronger. They looked proper physically made for European football. We just it's as if like like when a boxer's playing against somebody that's no good and he knows he's got him in the back pocket. That's just the way it looked. You know what I mean? If it was a boxing match, it would have been finished after 20 minutes.
I would on you go, Graham.
I think teams like Dortmund and stuff are sharper in mind and thought. They know their next pass will even play it. Celtic can get away with stuff like that in Scotland because they're the best team in Scotland. Like, quite clearly. They can go to teams like St Johnstone, Ross County, Hearts, and hammer these teams because they've got better players. But teams like Dortmund and stuff, now I've said it before, Adeyemi, Julian Brandt, these guys are quality players, but they've got speed of thought. They do things so much quicker than everyone else in the park. And Celtic could not get near these players. The amount of space they were getting, and you cannot give players like that time and space in the ball, because if you do, you're going to get punished. But they're just, teams like that are just sharper, they're quicker, their movement's really good, they can play one touch. Dortmund did all that tonight, and Celtic were found wanting. But I said it before, when you then go 3-4-1 down at half time, you've got to be streetwise and think, right, just shut up shop here, just defend. We can't afford to lose any more goals. But Celtic were still very open. They were still trying to go forward and still trying to create. And to be fair, second half, they did have a couple of chances second half, but Dortmund could have scored more. And I was sitting there going, after about 50 minutes, I think, I thought it's a good job that Adeyemi's not staying on that park, because he was on a field day. They could have scored more. But you've got to be going at these teams and be a bit more streetwise, like I said. I mean, for the first 6-7 minutes, once Celtic got that equaliser through Maeda, who I thought was Celtic's best player tonight, you're thinking, right, they
not hard to think of best player.
Yeah, they might have a chance to do something here, and then you go up the park and lose a second goal. But you need to be a lot more solid defensively, and as like I said earlier, it's not the first time this has happened to Brendan Rodgers' side. He should know by now, if you go to these places, you need to shut up shop after a while, because you're not gonna get away with that. I mean, again, this result's going to reverberate around Europe. People are going to look at that and think, wow, 7-1 to Dortmund against Celtic. And again, Scottish football is going to take the blow for it, because people will think Scottish football is rubbish. And I do agree, other teams have got to do better. Rangers have done very well in Europe. Hearts have not been great over the last few years. But everyone's got to step up. But, I mean, tonight is a massive, massive blow for Celtic. But I keep going back to it. If this was the first time it happened under Ben Rodgers, you go, do you know what? Write it off. It's one of these games. But it's not. Every away game Celtic go into, this happens. And it can't keep continuing.
Sorry, Graham. I just want to ask Michael, right? Michael was talking about the pre-show, the people that watched it, talk about Schmeichel. See a player like him, surely he needs to step up as well. I mean, the first 5 minutes, he gets away a penalty. He puts the team under pressure right away. And then there's a few I know the defenders are not helping them either, but there's a few of them where you think he's surely got to get a hand in that, I know. Do you know what I mean?
I wish they said in the chat that Schmeichel's a step up on Joe Hart.
I know.
He then loses 7 goals. I knew that was going to happen. But yeah, I think, was it the third goal that Adeyemi flashes past him? I don't think he sees it. I think he sees it very late. But maybe there's a couple of other ones he probably could do better with. But it's not just him. Defensively, I mean, again, you take Carter Vickers at that side and look what happens. You concede 7 goals. Carter Vickers was a massive, massive blow. Now, no disrespect to guys like Scales and Trusted, they're very good players. But Carter Vickers is by far Celtic's best defender. You take him out of the team, and that's what happens. There was no leadership at the back, and that's what happens.
I would maybe disagree with you, and to your point, sorry, Regan, first time I've done that. It's usually Graham, but now it's you. I'm picking on, but like I mean, in terms of the penalty, I don't think he should have kind of ran out and done that. But you know, if you look at the whole game, I mean, we could have been sitting here at Celtic get beat 9-1 tonight. I mean, don't forget the saves that Schmeichel pulled off during the game. The point that you made early on about, and I can't remember what was your point again. I honestly can't remember. What was it again?
My point was about Brendan Rodgers being able to adapt. Was my other point that he needs to be able to learn, and like the last Scottish teams were only like Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and Walter Smith because they shop and they're able to do that. Like, that was my second point, Michael. I mean, in terms of like, I just feel like sometimes we're far too open.
Yeah,
So,
well, yeah, okay. So I would maybe disagree with you again, but I will kiss and make up with you before the show finishes, and all that if you want. But I think you would have to blame the team the way it's set up tonight, because I felt as though that they showed Dortmund too much respect. I felt as though that they were giving away the ball very, very cheaply tonight, and that's what I mean about Graham, about over the years that Celtic's done the same, whether it's more away games than home games. They've actually gave the other team respect, and that's basically why Celtic had a kind of like thumping basically, and they had a real thumping tonight. But I did feel as though that I did feel as though that Celtic showed Dortmund maybe too much respect in terms of, oh, they're a better team than us, and all that, you know, and that was why I was saying them in the show about Reagan fell out with me now he's away. But that was why I was saying on the show earlier on, Graham, about it's important that, you know how like when we talked about Celtic and Falkirk the other week, right? And Falkirk who got the take the game in stages, like 50 minutes, 20 minutes, to half time. Well, that's the way Celtic took should have approached tonight's game without giving away stupid goals.
Yeah, I mean, the first 10 minutes, it was very, very open. It looked like it was going to be attack after attack from both teams.
Basketball game.
It did feel like that the first 10 minutes, and you know, to lose such an early goal for Celtic was a big blow. But then to get right back in it and then lose a goal a minute later, you can't be doing that. You know, you just got yourself back in the game. You need to just take a bit of a breath for 5-10 minutes, resettle yourself, and keep yourself in the game. And to lose that goal so quickly, and it kept happening all through that first half. The amount of space that Dortmund were getting to likes of Brand and Adeyemi, like I mentioned, they were getting so much time and space in the ball, and you can't do that with good players. I know that somebody mentioned earlier on that Dortmund are a poor side. I don't think they are. They are a very good side. They've got a lot of quality in there.
They went to the Champions League final. They must be poor, Graham.
You can't let quality players like that dominate the game. You could look at a lot of Celtic players tonight that just weren't at it. I thought Greg Taylor was terrible tonight. He was out of his depth massively, but he wasn't the only one. There was a lot of Celtic players just were nowhere near the level. But it's like I keep going back to, you've got to make yourself a bit more streetwise and actually just, you know what, just sit back, just try and soak up the pressure, try and get a foot on the ball and try and make a few passes. When Celtic did get the ball, they couldn't keep it. And that's another big problem as well. You need to have somebody in there that's going to be able to keep the ball. I mean, that was probably, again, Engels didn't really do a lot. McGregor couldn't get in the game. Bernardo, players that you'd expecting to do really well, they couldn't get on the ball. They couldn't make the ball stick. It was a long, long night for them. And, you know, how you recover from that, I don't know, because it's a massive, massive blow. Celtic have got Aberdeen on Sunday. And if you're Aberdeen, you'll be looking at it going, we've got a chance here, by the way, because Celtic are vulnerable.
Ross Kent too.
Was it Ross Kent? I thought it was Aberdeen.
Yeah, Ross Kent away.
Yeah, you'll probably win that. But I mean, again, it's very difficult to put yourself up from that. But Reagan's right. You've got to learn lessons from that. It's a massive, massive blow for Celtic tonight. And a lot of those players will look at themselves going, could I have done more tonight? I think the answer is probably yes.
Well, William Forbes makes a comment on Facebook. Thanks for watching. Keep your comments coming in. By the way, a lot of people watching the first show, and hopefully we'll have a lot of people sticking with us for the whole season because we're back on Thursday night. Anyway, William makes a comment because it shows how bad Scottish football is. It's funny how, like, as soon as Celtic or Rangers gets beat in Europe, I always come back to how bad Scottish football is. And by the way, I totally agree with your point, William, but I keep making this point as well. That's not Celtic and Rangers' fault that it's bad and the financial gap and all that. I mean, I know that me and you debated on the show, Graham, about like you know, the youth policies, people coming through the system now. I'm not saying by any means if you play 9 youth Hearts players, you're going to win the league. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying is, if you give somebody that Hearts jersey to put on and they're a Hearts fan, they know what it's like to play at Tynecastle in front of, 15,000 or whatever it is every second week. Whereas if you give it to people from overseas, they might not be used to playing in that demand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of foreign players come to Hearts, and we always use that word that, you talk about Scottish players and you say they get it, but foreign players sometimes don't. But I think the problem that a lot of folk have is, so I'm trying to choose my words carefully here, but I think the problem that a lot of folk have, and I knew this would happen because I saw this on Twitter as well, and of course it's not Celtic Rangers' fault, I get that completely, but the problem is that when Celtic are beating teams like Ross County, Falkirk, Hearts example, it's basically the fact that, Celtic have got a bigger budget, but then when Celtic go to teams like Dortmund have got a bigger budget, Celtic fans then say, oh, our budget's not as big as Dortmund's. Well, it's the same as us. Other teams in Scotland can't compete with Celtic because they've got a bigger budget. That's not Celtic's fault. But when Celtic go European football, other teams got a bigger budget. So you can't have it both ways. And I think that's what folk are trying to kind of get the message across, that Celtic can't really complain about the financial aspect of European football when they dominate Scottish football because they've got more money. But again, it's not Celtic's fault they've got more money. They earn that money. That's fine. But I think that's what the problem is.
I think that's what Sandy DUFC, I think you're a Dundee Mikey fan. I went to school, Graham, only 1 day a week, late enough. But he says no complaints about the massive gap, the financial gap in the league. We might have to do a show on this one night, actually, because I know everybody gets get the Alaska and you and even Mikey has debated this about that. But I mean, that's not, well, first of all, we're not going to, that's not what we're going to be speaking about tonight. But my last point I would say on that, Graham, is maybe, I mean, you're seeing it from a Hearts point of view. It's like, that's not kind of like Celtic and Rangers' fault. But I would maybe ask Sandy to look at other leagues in other worlds. Like, they've got, 2 or 3 teams every year competing for the league. And until Celtic and Rangers are out of the Premiership, like moving down to England or, whatever, it will remain the same.
I mean, I obviously watch a lot of English football because I support Liverpool as well. But it's when you watch some of these players that go to English clubs and they spend a fortune on what I would call average players. Like there's a guy at Chelsea, Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea spent about 100 million on him, and he's not actually that good a player. The prices in England that people pay are astronomical for very, very average players. So, English Premiership is a good example because they spend a lot of money. And it's, it's very difficult to compete with that. But it's the same as Scottish football. It's very difficult to compete with Celtic and Rangers because of the money they've got. And at the moment, Aberdeen are doing very well. They are right in there with Celtic. They are doing a fantastic job so far. But come January, for example, Celtic could go and send a player for 10, 50 million pounds. Aberdeen can't do that. So that, I mean, the gap is massive. But, you know, we are talking about today, and you have to look at the fact that Celtic were outplayed, they were outclassed by a very good Dortmund side, but Celtic did make a lot of errors tonight. You know, I said it earlier on, they kept giving the ball away, and you can't do that when you've got quality players like Dortmund have got. And I keep going back to what Reagan said earlier about learning lessons. Brendan Rodgers, I kind of admire the way he tries to play, because last season I didn't think Celtic were very good. I think a lot of folks said the same thing. He has been more expansive. He's trying to play better football, trying to play it for the back. But they got caught tonight by a far better team.
The last comment I'll make, it, I know I said that about the last one, Graham, but the very last one, I think we'll do show on this actually. And Alan Duncan basically said on Facebook, when are we going to at least do something about Scottish football? How bad is it getting? Because Norwegian football is now taking over. I think that's got to do with youth football, Graham, but I think it's all got to start at the bottom and working the way up. You can't really, you know, do it the other way about. And I think it all starts with the national team. I mean, look at the Scotland squad today. I mean, there was a player that this his name escapes me at the moment. It's not in the squad and should be in the squad. And this guy's that they put in the squad. I've not got the names in front of me. He's only played about 57 minutes this season.
Yeah, it's Andy Irvine. He was at Hearts. He's at West Ham now, which is a mental move for him. He actually came on against Man City a couple of weeks ago, and he came on against Liverpool as well. But he's not had a lot of football at West Ham, and he's in the Scotland squad. I found that really mental, and I do like him. Then you've also got guys like Kevin Nisbet, who's on form. He's not in the Scotland squad. As a Hearts fan, for me, I don't think Craig Gordon and Shanklin should be in there. They've not done enough. But yeah, I mean, the Scotland squad is pretty much what I thought it would be. There's a couple of changes in there, like Liam Lindsay's in it, Nicky Devlin's in it, deservedly so. But, you know, you talk about grassroots, and you used to see a lot of kids going out and playing football at the park. You don't see a lot of that now. You know, to be fair, my laddie was at the park earlier on. But it used to be a case if you go out, when I was younger, you would go out 10 o'clock in the morning, not come home till about 7 o'clock at night. You were playing football all day. You don't get that now, you know, because you've got kids playing PlayStations or Xboxes. They don't want to go out and play football. And that's a massive, massive issue. And again, I spoke about this on Sunday as well with Stephen on the show. We talked about the youngsters and stuff. And again, a lot of the problem at youth football is parents. You know, they are so demanding of coaches, and it's not good enough. You know, something does have to change. I completely get that. But I mean, tonight it's a big, big lesson for Celtic. But Rodgers has got to learn lessons quickly because it keeps happening.
Yeah, my only answer to that, Graham, is I kind of agree with you about the PlayStations and iPads and all that. But somebody said last week that you know, they've got iPads in Spain and they're still producing brilliant football players. So what's the difference over here? Maybe it's because we've got bad weather compared to Spain. But anyway, let's continue to the Dortmund Celtic game tonight. Dortmund 7, Celtic 1. Good evening to Robbie Collins. Hope you're well, mate. You're watching the show on YouTube. Graham, I mentioned before you came on there that either me and, well, in fact, all three of us in the previous show was surprised he didn't start the game. Were you surprised in terms of, like, I was saying in the group chat as well that Celtic didn't have an out ball in the whole entire game, you would say, because I thought that first half was going on for the 2 days. You know, Celtic was camped in the own half. But in terms of, it gets you kind of like up the park and, you know, just get your foot in the ball. And when you have your foot in the ball, you become a bit more confident and, you know.
Yeah, when I heard Neil Lennon say that, I think during commentary, you know, just get the ball long and just try and get something to play off. They obviously didn't have that with Ida. I think probably, I don't know how many touches Kyogo had in the game, probably less than 5 because they couldn't get in the game. But the problem was that even if Ida had started, Celtic didn't have enough possession to get the ball to him. That was a problem that Kyogo had. There was absolutely no service. Celtic could not get control of the game. And that's a big... It wouldn't matter who you had up front. You could have played you up front, they wouldn't have got service. You need to have someone that's going to create chances, and they did not have that.
You've never saw me playing 2 sides before, Graham.
I mean, honestly, the problem tonight wasn't the fact that Ida didn't start. It was the fact that Celtic made so many mistakes, were so easy to play against, and did not have enough control of the ball. That was the massive issue tonight.
Somebody's made a comment on YouTube basically saying first play I would have subbed at half time would have been Conor McGregor. He ran about with his arms in the air, maybe like a seagull, I don't know. But I mean, it's a bit unfair because you could kick any of the 11 off tonight, Glenn, because they were that kind of very, very poor. Basically, on Saturday night, Celtic were brilliant all over the park. Tonight was opposite.
I don't think many folk, I certainly didn't. I did not expect that result tonight. Now, a lot of folk would have said Dortmund will win, but I don't think anybody would have said that it will be 7-1. Because the way that Celtic have been playing, I know it's Scottish football, but the way that Celtic were playing, you just thought they had a chance to do something tonight. To get hammered like that is a massive, massive shock. And a lot of players didn't perform. I keep saying it. They were too easy to play against. They were far too open. Julian Brandt had an absolute field day. So did Adeyemi. They were outstanding tonight, but Celtic made it very easy for them. They were cut open so often. There was no real leadership on the part to say, look, we just need to keep hold of the ball, just keep possession for a bit, and just try and make a few passes. Nobody did that tonight. And that was a big, big problem as well. Celtic just could not keep the ball. And I don't know what the shape was, because they were caught out of possession so many times and lost their shape. I mean, second half, like I said, when you're 5-1 up half time, it's always difficult to know what Dortmund are going to do. You know, will they come out and keep going? Will they sit back and say, we've got this game won? They did try and go for more goals, and they could have scored more in the end, because they did have other chances. And you actually said it to Reagan earlier. You know, for as many as Cash was making a few mistakes tonight, he actually did keep the score down, which is mental because you lost 7. But he did actually make a few big saves that could have made that a lot worse.
The only shot I kind of wrote down for Celtic was a Tatty shot, and that says a lot about the team, because he was a sub tonight, and they came on, and obviously Maida as well, but he was the only standout man. In fact, he would be running about now when the game's finished, because he's the only man that can run about when Celtic's winning 6-0 on Saturday with 2 minutes to go, and he's running to chase a ball as well. But Atati was the only kind of real effort, you would say, in goal, apart from the goal, obviously.
The thing I would say about Hatate, and the game was won. What I like about Hatate is his ability to keep hold of the ball, and he knows how to pick a pass out as well. And I think Celtic badly lacked that tonight. Of course, you're not going to take out guys like McGregor and Bernardo and Engels, who's been doing really well. But Hatate's just got that bit of something about him that can keep hold of the ball when you need to do it. And Celtic didn't do that tonight. That was the one shot I remember as well, second half. I think Ida had a chance second half as well that he thought he maybe scored, but the keeper got a hand to it. But yeah, there just wasn't a lot. There was not any positives for Celtic tonight. But I mean, honestly, Diaz Almeida's work rate is incredible. That he just never stops running. His work rate is sensational. Even in the first half, he was pressing so high. And, Dortmund are having problems against him. Obviously, second half, it faltered a bit because Celtic were getting hammered. But Maeda's, that's the kind of guy you want on your team. Someone like that, because he doesn't stop. His energy, his work rate, he's scored a few goals this season as well. He is just a fantastic, fantastic player. And someone you'd want with you in the trenches as well.
If you're interested in the math statistics that UEFA brings out after the game, you wouldn't be surprised to know that the 2 shots we were talking about there, that was the only shot Celtic had against target. But there's a Dortmund, even though they won 7-1, Graham, 13 shots on target. That's just spooky. That's just frightening to see.
Yeah, and if you look as well at the game on Saturday, and I said this to Stephen on the Sunday show we did. If you look at Celtic St Johnstone and flip that, Celtic had 19 shots, 11 on target, and they got into the final third 98 times against St Johnstone. And then you flip that to tonight, to Dortmund, who are a very good side, and it's the exact opposite. You know, Celtic were like a rabbit in the headlights tonight. They were just they were just outplayed by a far better side. And I know Michael said to you, this was the reality check Celtic needed. If they repeat it, then that's when Rodgers can be vilified. But if they must be allowed to learn from it being slaughtered. But that's the problem, though. Celtic aren't learning away from home because it's not the first time it's happened. Like I said earlier, PSG, Barcelona, they've been hammered by 7 before. It can't keep on letting it happen. Now, Celtic have got a few difficult ties coming up as well. I know they've got Aston Villa, kind of Battle of Britain game. That'll be difficult because Aston Villa's a really good side. So again, it could happen again. Maybe not to Villa, but it could happen again if this kind of performance keeps happening. They need to be a bit more. They need to be far stronger defensively. Which is what I said earlier about Carter Vickers being missing. He's a massive player.
Yeah.
But they've got to shut up shop at times and just think, do you know what? Let's just get ourselves settled here, get a foot on the ball, make a few passes. Celtic didn't do that tonight.
Basically, what you could get summed up, Graham, by saying Celtic were like St Johnstone tonight.
I don't know what offence St Johnstone fan.
No. Yeah, shots off target. This is frightening, Graham, as well. But this is Dortmund going out 2 for the whole game. Celtic won that actually. Well, they get beat 7-1. But Celtic won the shots off target 3-2. That's on the battle they won tonight. Yeah, I mean, how can Celtic, how can Brendan Rodgers lift the players for Sunday against Ross County? And I know that somebody was mentioning early on, and this ties into what we were saying, Graham, about the levels. So, like, you're basically going away to St Johnstone, and then you're going 2 levels up or 3 levels up to Borussia Dortmund, and then on Sunday you're down to earth to play Ross County in the freezing cold in Dingwall. And I know that people will say, well, you're being a bit harsh. Well, maybe I am, but that's like the league, but that's the levels that Celtic's playing at. It must be why I'm not trying to cut Celtic any slack at all, but it must be different. It must be difficult to go from, like Borussia Dortmund to Ross County because there must be levels involved, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, Michael mentions reality check from Dortmund to Dingwall. I mean, that's reality check if you're looking for one, seriously. Yeah, I mean, they will be able to lift themselves because, again, no disrespect, but it's Ross County. They will lift themselves. I think they'll probably make a few changes to the squad on Sunday, and Celtic can afford to do that. You looked at the bench that Celtic had today. It was a very, very strong bench. Players that should probably be in the starting 11, if we're being honest. Like, so Luke McKeown will probably start. Ida will probably start. McKeown, Ida, Hatate. These guys will probably start. They've got a squad that can do that. Yeah. And I think the fact they're playing Ross County is probably a good thing because County I know they got a draw against us last week, but they're not a great side. You'd expect Celtic to bounce back quite comfortably in that and then go international break. But yeah, it is a reality check, going from Dortmund to Dingwall. I mean, that is a massive, massive come down after a game like that tonight. But the thing is, though, if you're County, you'll be worried now because Celtic will be looking for a reaction. They'll be looking to try and hammer somebody. That's the last game that I'd want if I'm a Ross County player.
Would you say that? I know this is a bit daft me saying this, but at half time it was 5-1, wasn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you say that Celtic would say, well, the game's lost, let's just win the second half, even though you were beat anyway?
Yeah, and they still don't win the second half, though, because they lost another 2 goals.
No, but what I mean is keep the score down at 5-1. I know that. Yeah, but that was never going to happen, but...
Yeah, but they should have done that. They should have done that at 4-1, though. Just shut up shop. Just get a bit of confidence, get a foot on the ball, try and take the sting out of it, because Dortmund fans were superb tonight, by the way. And to be fair, so were the Celtic fans as well, not that much to cheer. But even at 4-1 down, just realise that the game's done. And I think that's what they had to do tonight, and they didn't do it. It was very, very poor from Celtic and the mistakes they made, but you can't take away how good Dortmund were tonight. And how good like Adeyemi and Brandt and that were. And the other guy at wide as well, I can't remember his name. But they were fantastic tonight. They were a different level to what Celtic normally play. But at 4-1 up, just shut up shop. The game's done. And they didn't do it.
We are on till 11 o'clock tonight. Keep your comments coming in. We'll try and get quotes from Brendan Rodgers. I presume that is done as TV and stuff like that. So we'll try and get that before the end of the show. Also, we're back on Thursday night. Big night in Europe for Rangers and Hearts. Hearts kick off first. Rangers is in the back shift at 8 o'clock. And we'll be on the back shift. We'll be on at 10 o'clock. And we'll be on for a very quick show. Don't go away and make a cup of tea because you'll miss this show. We'll be on at 5 till about 5:44 in 2 seconds because it's a 5:45 kickoff. And Graham's want to go away in peace to watch the football as well. So, Reagan, it's a difficult night for Celtic, but because of the new format of the Champions League, still get a chance of winning, and still 7 games could go.
Aye, Brendan Rodgers just said that to your pal in the media conference, Michael Grant, who's been on the show. I was just listening to him there, and he was saying that they've got 3 points on the board, basically that Dortmund are a team that are expected to do well in Champions League, so that's where Celtic are expected to be. Now, yes, I do see where you're coming from, and I do see where Brendan's coming from, but we still need to be competitive in those matches for Celtic. But I think it's going to be interesting how he picks the players up because it's just going to be really interesting because I think in terms of a Celtic point of view, I mean, it showed you on the TV, like Alistair Johnson looking kind of distraught at the side, kind of Kyogo when he's going off there, kind of looking sore. Like, what do you think Brendan Rodgers will be saying, Michael?
I thought, I know that I was talking to Glenn about, apart from my get shot and Atari came on in the second half, but I thought Alistair Johnson done okay tonight. And he actually kind of like played well in parts as well, but that. I think, Graham, what we were saying after the Scara Bucharest game, it was so important that Celtic got off to a winning start because the Celtic didn't get off to a winning start or even drop any points. You would be looking at Celtic maybe at the bottom of the table at the moment. I mean, 5-1 in the first game. Okay, we're talking about goal difference, but that's going to help the goal difference. But look at tonight, Celtic kind of lost that by 7.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the game against Slovan Bratislava, they are the weakest team you're going to play in this tournament at the moment. You've got other big games to come. You know, your next game is against Atalanta away from home, and that's not going to be easy. They're a really good side with likes of Adamola, Lookman, and Zappa Costa and stuff. Lucky Scamata's out because he's a really good player, but Atalanta away from home is a difficult game as well. And Celtic have got to be a far, far better than that game. You know, Celtic's way record in Europe is, we all know it's not great, but you can't afford to go to Italy and get a hammer in there as well, because then you've learned nothing again. You have to be really tight in that game. Now, I know you've got other games to come before that in the league and stuff, but that Atalanta game, I'm looking at it thinking, you know, could Celtic get something out of that game? Play like tonight, you've got no chance. But, I mean, tonight is a massive, like somebody mentioned, reality check. But that Atalanta game is going to be big. And I've said it last week. I like the competition the way it is. I think it's really, really good the way it's been set out. So it does give Celtic that chance to get through You probably won't qualify straight out, but you've got the playoffs that you can go into. I think it's a really, really good group. I think you've got to be about the bottom 8 not to get through. I don't think Celtic will be in there. I think you might actually get through, but that Atalanta game is massive. If you can get something out of that game, that could be massive.
I'll ask you guys a question then. The only way I see Celtic getting through is if Brendan Rodgers changes his tactics in Europe. Do you think he'll change his tactics, Graham?
I think he has to. At home, I get it. You're maybe expected to have more of the ball because it's Celtic Park at home, but away from home, you've got to be far better than that. When you go to these places like Dortmund and Atalanta, you won't have a lot of the ball. You're going to have to defend very well, and that's something Celtic did not do tonight and haven't done for a while away from home. I think he's going to have to change something. You can't be as expansive as that. I said it earlier, I admire Rodgers trying to do it, but there's a time and place to do it, and going to Dortmund is not a place to do that because they've got far too much quality. So I think against Atalanta, he will have to change something. And I don't know if Rodgers is going to is the type of guy that's going to do that and be a bit more defensive-minded, because it's not what Celtic fans want to see. Celtic fans want a team that plays attractive attacking football, but sometimes you just got to think about it and think, actually, no, let's be a bit more defensive. Let's get a bit more defensive here. We know we've got threats in the counter-attack. Let's use the pace of like Maeda to try and get him behind. But they can't afford to be as bad as they were tonight, or Atalanta could hammer them as well.
Reagan, Glenn was saying so Atalanta in 3 weeks' time, I think it is, on the 23rd, or maybe 2 weeks' time, I'm not sure.
Then you've got Leipzig again.
Yeah,
not an easy time.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say that Celtic first home game on Bonfire night, it could be fireworks that night up at Celtic Park, but I mean, what do you think? I mean, I'm not going to say to you, Reagan, it's a learning curve, because Celtic fans are sick of hearing that over the years. I just think it's not a learning curve. I just think it's just basic mistakes. It's schoolboy stuff Celtic are doing in Europe.
I think it is, and I think that when I ask you guys, why do you think Brendan Rodgers took off Greg Taylor? Do you think it was because he realizes that maybe he's not up to the level, or do you think it was just a case of we need to take somebody off to try and balance it up, or maybe he feels like Valley is kind of more up to the standard of European football? Because I didn't think Greg Taylor did that much wrong, but do you think Brendan Rodgers is sort of realizing that Greg Taylor's not up to that standard of European football, or do you guys?
I said it earlier, I thought Taylor looked out of his depth tonight. He's a good player, Greg Taylor, but I thought he was out of his depth tonight massively. It wasn't. I mean, he could have taken anybody off, but I wasn't surprised to see Taylor coming off, because I thought he was dreadful tonight. He was getting ripped apart.
I think the thing about Greg Taylor's Reagan is, I like him when he was at Camargue, but his height kind of lets him down in a way.
I think you're right, Michael. I think that in terms of Greg Taylor, if he's listening, I think he's a smashing player for Scottish level. But I think if Celtic have got any business sense or sense about them, I'd be chapping an Arsenal's door, Michael. I'd be going, right, okay. Well, what's happening with Tierney? You know what, Tierney? We'll take him in January, because he's sitting about in Arsenal. He's not injured at the moment. He's sitting about doing absolutely nothing. So I'd be saying, right, what's the situation with him?
Is that really I kind of, it basically done. It's done all. It's basically took over the gloss a wee bit, Graham, in terms of Celtic's brilliant start they had 2 weeks ago, and by 5-1. And I know people say that it's Bratislava, they're the weakest team in the group, but you still got to play who's in front of you. It doesn't matter if they're the best team or the worst team or whatever. And then, it's a total opposite tonight.
Yeah, you can only be able to put in front of you. And I think a lot of folk, Celtic fans, media people, went into this actually thinking, do you know what, Celtic could do well here. They could actually get a decent result tonight. Maybe not a win, but potentially a draw.
But I mean, I'm sorry, Glenn, but I mean, you can't blame them for saying that because the way that Celtic,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You know, Celtic have been playing very well, playing some cracking football, and it was understandable that folk thought that Celtic could go there and get a result tonight. Like I said, I don't think anybody expected this. Nobody expected a 7-1 hammering, and it could have been a lot more. You know, it was. I'm not going to call it a freak result because it's not, because it's happened before with Celtic away from home. Brendan Rodgers has basically said that Celtic were spooked tonight. I've just noticed that coming up there. But I mean, why? Celtic have got a lot of quality players. How can you be spooked by that? You must know what you're expecting against Dortmund. They're a good side.
It's only the first October game. We get 30 days to Halloween news. Spooked already, but okay. Yeah.
But I mean,
it's a strange statement to make.
But I mean, what I would say, maybe to not defend Rodgers or whatever, but the team needs to take responsibility as well, because of that. I said this to you in the show before, guys, as well, that you can go in the training park Monday to Friday and you can work on whatever you're working on, but as soon as it comes to a game day, whether it's tonight or Perth or whatever, or Monday night you're playing, as soon as you cross that white line, Reagan, it's up to you to put on a job.
You're spot on. I mean, like, it's okay people going, oh, Brendan Rodgers needs to learn. But what can he do about Schmeichel bringing a guy down? What can he do about Greg Taylor not being up to it? Of course you can say, well, he can coach them better, but he's no legislating for these errors. I mean, and you were saying there about people in the media, and I was saying about the fact that Celtic can possibly have a chance tonight. But that's because Celtic were playing brilliant football. They were playing well. It's probably the best squad that the Celtic board have given Brendan Rodgers for a while. So everybody was confident because of that. But it's just been a really bad night, and I hope the Hearts and Rangers can cheer me up on Thursday.
You mentioned there, Reagan, about, you know, you think Rodgers will change. Well, he's actually just come out and said that he will never park the bus. Now, again, I kind of admire that, but the question I would ask is, are Celtic fans going to be happy to go to these places, open up, and get beat 7 again? Surely you can't be happy with that. You've got to be far more resilient than that. You can't keep doing that.
It's like Ange Postecoglou. He comes out to the English media and goes, "It's who we are, mate. It's who we are." You know, but at the end of the day, like there's only two ways of playing, and they need to become more adaptable to who they're playing. Yeah, I'm not going to credit big Sam Allardyce here, but he always says, whoever you play, like everybody moans about him and goes, "Oh, you've got one still in football." That's because he's of the players he's been chosen to play with. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go out there and if you've got a really bad horse, you're not going to go there and go, "Well, he's going to finish top of the race," when you know he's not going to. You need to adapt with the players that you've been assigned, and I think that's part of the problem with some of these managers. I mean, we seen it with Stephen Naismith. He never knew his best team. He brought in Danda and Spittle. He never played them, and then he brings in Liam Boyce. I mean, I'm not a hard supporter, Graham, but I knew they needed to replace Liam Boyce, and they needed to play Danda and Spittle, but he never played them, and that's why he lost his job. Because all of these managers now are obsessed with playing the ball for the back, playing aggressive. But sometimes you just need the approach that Sam Allardyce has, where play the opposition. Every game that you go into, see if you can play nice football against St Johnstone. You play nice football, but see if you're playing Barcelona, don't go toe to toe with Barcelona. Don't go toe to toe with Borussia Dortmund, because it's not going to work.
I mean, if you look at Celtic, have had decent results in the past. I mean, they played Man City twice, and I think drew them twice. But it's very different. Yeah, I mean, Celtic, you know, for Rodgers to say that he'll never park the bus, again, I do admire that. But I think there's times you just got to think to yourself, do you know what? We just need to actually be a bit more defensive here and try not to get hammered. Now, some Celtic fans might not like that. They want to see the team be open, but you can't be that open because look what happened when you tried to over tonight. You got absolutely torn apart. You can't keep doing that, or you just keep getting the same results.
Sorry, Reagan.
No, I'm just going to say, Graham, it's like when Hearts go to Celtic Park, of course they want to try and push the game and they want to try and beat Celtic, but they know if they play tippy-tappy football for every pass, they try and play the beautiful passes, they're going to get cut home like butter through a knife.
I was just going to say to Graham as well, I know what Brendan Rodgers are saying, not parking the bus, and to be honest, I hate that, like when you go along to a game and Reagan likes me saying that, 10 buses playing the ball, but like you can be open, Graham, but the Celtic are at that level tonight and maybe over the years, Celtic are making far too many mistakes. You can be open, you can be expansive, but see if you make mistakes, you're going to get beat 9-1. And all right, Celtic get beat 7-1 tonight. Lucky it wasn't 9-1 by Schmeichel because he made brilliant saves. But you know what I mean? Have a go. Believe in yourself that all right, we're not going to win the game, but we're going to actually give them a game. You know,
if Celtic make mistakes in Scotland, they won't get punished because players just aren't good enough to punish them. But in these European games, you make mistakes, you will get torn apart, what happened tonight, and that could happen again and again in this tournament if you keep playing open like that. Like I just talked about Atalanta, they've got players that can hurt you. They've got pace. Adam O'Lookman's a really quick player, like Adeyemi was tonight. If you make mistakes against that kind of opponent, they will punish you. And again, you've got to be wary of that.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is, Graham, that there's no poor teams in the Champions League. They're all there for...
Slovan Bratislava are one of them.
But they're there for a reason. Like they qualified, what was it, 3 or 4? They played 3 or 4 games before they got into the group stages. And typical Scottish fashion, if that was Celtic or Rangers, they would have been knocked out in the first game. You know, so every team's there in merit because like they've qualify, go win the league or kind of like whatever. So everybody, I mean, I know everybody's making the joke about Bratislava, but I mean, show them about respect because like they're there to like compete and stuff like that, you know.
I think you're bang on because you need to remember as well, Michael, that you look at the amount of times the Celtic Rangers and all that have been through playoffs and they've got beat off the opposition like Ferencváros, PSV. So you need I think you made a correct point there that it's okay us saying, well, Bratislava weren't up to the standard, but they still did more than Rangers did this season and more than Celtic did over previous seasons. So I think you made a good point there.
I think as well, Reagan, and I don't know if you agree with me, Glenn, but there's a way to get beat in the Champions League. That wasn't a way to get beat.
Yeah,
that
tonight's not it. That really is not it.
That was
this is what I mean, though. This is what I mean. At 4-1 down, shut up shop, stop conceding, and they didn't.
Even 3-1, Graham.
Because I mean, 3-1, you've still got a chance. You get 3-1, you've still got a chance. Next goal, you're back in it. But 4-1, just shut up shop. And Celtic didn't do that.
No, that's what I was going to say. Because 3-1, you've got to say, well, we'll maybe beat. But if we get the next goal, you know, 4-1, it's like, well, I'll be well going home to the airport now because the game's finished.
I mean, I think at 4-1, Neil Lennon made the point. You know, maybe Celtic aren't out of this yet. And then 5-1 goes in. Yeah, you aren't out, mate.
That so obvious it smacks you right in the face. We are going to we are going to get out of here now, and we are going to come back on Firstgate for the Hearts and Rangers games in European football. Thanks for everybody. It's watching tonight. We had brilliant numbers watching the show at 6 o'clock. Brilliant numbers tonight as well. Thanks for your comments. Come back on Thursday night and comment again. Don't forget, you can watch the show and eat your dinner at 5 o'clock. I don't mind going, maybe do it the other way about. We're on Thursday night at 5 o'clock. And for Graham's case, 5:44 and about 59 seconds will be on Thursday night. But don't worry, we'll be on at 10 o'clock after the game. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks to Reagan, Graham and James, and we'll do it all again on Thursday night.
Celtic in the Champions League with all the build-up and reaction on Independent